Anybody have any questions they want to ask me?
Yes, sir.
One of the hammers that the Republicans throw at Democrats quite frequently is the stance on police. So, just your thoughts on
Sure.
re-electing her.
Now, I think that Pelosi is an easy target because she's a woman, and because she's from California. I'm not opposed to Pelosi because of those things. I am opposed to Pelosi because she is an opponent of Medicare for All. And I think that we need a Speaker of the House who is a proponent of Medicare for All. The reason she is an opponent of Medicare for All is because she's one of the biggest fundraisers for the Democratic Party. Some of the reasons she's unpopular is because she's the House leader or the House Speaker at times. And everybody who's in that position is going to be unpopular. Remember Paul Ryan, he was the golden boy, and then everybody hated him? And I don't blame her for doing the hard work of being a House Speaker. But that's my first priority, is Medicare for All. And I would never support a speaker who was not a firm supporter of Medicare for All.
Thank you.
Josh, has Doug Collins agreed to meet you on a stage anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
This will shock you, but no. Now, I will tell you this. He has not agreed to a debate. But you know, I worked at Riverside Military Academy. Doug Collins, I know from very good sources, has been invited several times to speak at Riverside Military Academy. And on some occasions, on very important occasions, he was signed up to the last minute to speak, and he sent Bill Coakley, who was an even lower bar than Doug Collins. And and yet, after I announced, it came out in the newspaper, the board at Riverside Military Academy, where I was working at the time, as a lowly teacher, got a call from Doug Collins. And there's a quote from Doug Collins. "Is this for real?" And I knew he knew that I would find out that he had called the board and asked if that was for real. So that got his attention. And for the first time ever, he agreed to come speak at Riverside Military Academy during a time, during the day, when I had to attend. And yet, the college Republicans, college Democrats have all reached out to repeatedly to his Washington office and his Gainesville office, and he has refused to respond, much like he's probably done with most of you when you ask him for radical things like stop caging kids, don't cut Social Security, other radical things that Democrats are out for this year. So, no, he has not agreed yet. But you know what? It's fine if he doesn't take me as a threat, because I'm still working. And that's maybe even better if he doesn't see me as a threat. Yes?
Any plans for any television commercials?
Television commercials are very expensive. So
Yeah.
it all depends on how much money people give me. Frankly, it comes down to that. I would love to have I have a commercial that I made that actually the artist is here before you, and Packy also helped. Jared is the actor in the Kemp. I made a parody of Kemp's awful, his flannel Eichmann ad. So I made a parody of that. You should check it out on YouTube if you haven't already. It's the comedy you need in moments like this. I need money to make a TV ad, but I happen to think that, so this morning I was on a radio station, a very conservative radio station. Pete and Paula helped set that up. I'm telling you, Pete and Paula, hey, they are champions. But it was a great interview. They were conservatives, but we were on board on a lot of similar things. I'm going to have to go locally. For what I could get out of a TV spot, which it would just get on a lot of people's nerves during football. They get on my nerves during football games. I can go to their door and say, "How can I earn your vote?" For free, mostly. So, I may not be able to run one. I would like to do a billboard if anybody's interested in funding it. I'm going to make sure that everybody knows that I stand for that healthcare should be for all Americans, not just for the wealthy. And that would be on my billboard if I could afford it. Yes, Stephanie.
Can you explain what Medicare for All means to you, please?
Yeah, sure. Now, there are about 3 theoretical ways it could go, but I'll tell you my preferred way. Now, one of those ways is a public option, which if that was the best we could get, I would vote for in a heartbeat. But I believe that the very best system we could have would be a system where 4% of every employee's paycheck comes out as a tax into a common pool, a Medicare fund, a Medicare for All fund. And every American would be able to go to the doctor without a copay and that's it. Employers would have to pay between a 7 and 8% tax on your wages, as opposed to now, where the average cost of an employer-based health care costs around $12,500 per employee. So if you add that up, about 3 or 4 employees actually loses them another employee they could hire because of employer health care costs. Medicare for All would get rid of a lot of the administrative costs that go into hospitals and doctors' offices. They now have to, if you visit from Alaska and go to the emergency room in Northeast Georgia Medical Center, they don't even know how to bill you because it's a completely different system. It's like going to a gas station trying to order gas, and there are about 100,000 different slots to put a card in, and you better hope that all those slots are working and that every line is functioning. That's how our healthcare system works right now. Medicare for All is a single payer system, which is the virtue of Medicare for All. The same payer for every hospital and every nurse. It's also more dependable. Often doctors have to work very hard just to get paid for the work they've done. They have to call a doctor very many times that is hired by the insurance company who is trying to deny paying for the service they've provided. And often doctors can't prescribe the medicine they want because their patients can't afford their medicine because it's not covered by their insurance. So I want to give every doctor the freedom to prescribe what they know is needed for the patient. And I want to free up these doctors' offices to do what they want to do, treat patients, instead of trying to work through red tape, getting paid for their services. The only people who would lose out on this, millionaires and billionaires, would pay more every month for health insurance than they do now. And highly specialized physicians, the market would change. There'd be a bigger market for general health care, which is what we need more of. And there would be a smaller market and a less profitable market for ultra-specialized physicians. I'm sorry, I'm getting wonky, but we need to talk about the details of this because it's not like it's simple. It's not easy, and it's not, without its own risks and problems. There's no system that you can create that is not without problems.
Was yours proposal, what you just said, the same as Bernie Sanders?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, Brian.
So more of a comment about TV commercials. You've got the 2 spots online, the one with Jared and the other one where you're showing some of the idiocy from the other side. And every time those pop up, share them.
Yeah.
Because if they go viral, it's as good as a TV spot.
Exactly, and it's free. Go to my Facebook page. Yeah, my Kemp.
Got on CNN.
Yeah, my Kemp ad. I made a parody of Brian Kemp, and it made it to CNN. CNN showed my ad, and MSN showed my ad, so I made it to fake news. I was very excited. So please share my ads. They're funny. I actually try humor.
What kind of
Yeah.
I worked for Kim.
Josh, one thing I want to say, when we were living on our boat, Pete had a couple spots that were precancerous. So he got Epidex while we were living down in Venezuela. It was sent from the U.S., written in English, down there for $16. In this country, it was $100.
Yeah.
And when you look it up, we were number 16th in the country, but we pay the most for health care. So we do have to do something.
There are, I have family members. My uncle who lives down the road actually can't afford his insulin some months because he's in what they call the donut hole, the gap in Medicare. That should not happen. Anybody who's on Medicare should not have a gap where they can't pay for life-saving medication.
Yeah, if somebody misses, I'm a nurse at a large regional medical center. And if somebody misses out their insulin, they're going to have problems. They're going to be in the ER, they're going to be in ICU on insulin drip. They're going to come out the floor for a few days, and then they're going to go home with another prescription for insulin. And that is going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not billions of dollars, where if we had just gave them their insulin, it never would happen.
The healthcare system...
One of the most frustrating things we see all the time.
And it's an illustration of a bigger problem in our society. We, like I said, write a blank check for punishment, but we have to pinch pennies when it comes to compassion. And it's not the conservative way to do it. We would save money by treating people up front. We would save money. We have the biggest prison population in the entire world and the biggest invasion budget of any country in the history of the world. And yet they tell us we can't afford tuition-free college. They tell us we can't afford a healthcare system. We need to start paying for people up front before their lives are destroyed by sickness or lack of education or lack of opportunity. That's conservative.
It is.
Yes, Jared.
It saves money.
I know that we've talked about this a lot, but I figured you'd want to share. What does a living wage look like to you, and how would that function for both an employee and an employer, especially a small business employer?
So at the present moment, a $15 an hour wage wouldn't really help that much because of healthcare costs. But if we could pass Medicare for all, $15 an hour in many places, especially like in Habersham County, would be a living wage. You could pay for food, shelter, and it's what FDR called for. 8 hours work, 8 hours rest, 8 hours recreation. That's what we should all have. And so that would be what a living wage looks like. Now, for the big businesses, Amazon, Apple, Walmart, they can pay $15 an hour, and they will. For very small businesses, some of the owners don't make $15 an hour. So I think that we've got to work on federal grants for truly small businesses, not the way they do it now. They call them small businesses and they write bills for the big banks. We've got to work on getting grant money to truly small businesses, small farmers, to make sure that they have the money they need to live on while they work very valuable jobs. Yes?
Realize that education is more of a state issue, but do you have any positions relative to education?
Yes, and I'm a teacher myself. It's basically all the things that have made me mad as a teacher. I've stored them up and now they're coming out on a platform. So number one thing, we need to get rid of federally mandated standardized testing, which I believe would be a bipartisan. I'm a teacher. I can't tell you how excited I would have been to hear somebody say that years and years ago. And we also need to, instead of, now that does give funding to schools because of the mandated testing. What we need to do, instead of having that stick and beating these poor schools over the head, we already know that poor schools are going to be the ones who suffer on these standardized tests. So we need to do something we know works. Instead of testing them, we need to give poor communities extra money to bring their class sizes down. We should have a cap at 25 per class size in this country. We have plenty of money to make a good education system. 25 is a lot. That's not a little. That's still a lot of work. But teachers need decent workload so they can stay in the job for a long time. They need to be rewarded for their work. And part of that means investing in these local communities who can't afford enough teachers to keep their class sizes down. That's my plan on education. Tuition-free college, my plan is to offer a GI Bill for domestic service. Imagine if we thought about serving our country as signing up for 4 years in a military type system, where instead of invading Afghanistan and Iraq, we were in Niger, and John McCain, who sits on the committee in the Senate, didn't know we were in Niger. We are in so many countries, we don't even know where we are. Imagine actually serving our country here with elderly people who need in-home care, with inner-city schools where they need tutoring, and single moms who need daycare. Imagine filling our social needs and getting people to serve their country in the art of peace, and thereby earning a year-for-year scholarship to either technical school or a college.
That'll be the last one.
Oh, sure.
Just a little bit of help.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Don't forget the honey.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You get a bag of honey too.
Every time I see Virginia, my mouth starts watering. It's the honey.
Josh McCall is here tonight because of one thing, is that he believes in Georgians and he believes in you. And he is running a campaign that is just awesome. But one of the things he doesn't believe in is he doesn't believe in the Koch brothers. He doesn't believe in Georgia Carry, the NRA, the medical groups that are funding a multi-million-dollar campaign for Doug Collins, who thinks he can spend $0. and just hoard that money. But Josh cannot do this alone. He really needs the support from us. He is not taking corporate money at all. He is not taking $1 from corporate money. But what he does need is he needs help. I have a barrel up here for Josh McCall, and you're going to have an opportunity. We're going to break in just a few minutes, so if you can put something in there, please do. Or go to online, McCall for All, and sign up for either $5 a month or do an Act Blue and do even a little donations. Let me tell you, $10, $25, $50, $100 is going to make a difference in our county, because this man is winnable. Not only is he winnable, we have enough votes in this district to get him elected and get him in Washington, and we're going to flip this state. Now, I also have, Josh is not the only candidate, and I'm going to tell you, every candidate needs it. Stacey Abrams. You know, I have envelopes up here. Any of the candidates that you see, please go online. Even if it's that small amount, like I said, if it's $10, $15, $25, go online, make a difference in campaigns today and support them. We gave him a little check, not so little. There was a few zeros in there, but he also needs you also. I know that not everybody in here can go out and knock on doors, cannot pick up the phone, cannot write cards, but you can open your wallet for just even a modest donation will help this man bring him to Washington and do it today.